President Trump is said to be hashing out a deal that would give the U.S. government up to a 90% ownership stake in Spirit Airlines. And who better to own Spirit than the man who ran his own airline?
Jimmy Kimmel began by going after one of Trump's most sensitive weak spots, his reputation for business success. Reports emerged that Trump was allegedly involved in discussions surrounding Spirit Airlines, and Kimmel immediately recognized the opportunity. Trump has long presented himself as a master dealmaker, the man who claims he can turn anything into gold. However, critics have repeatedly highlighted business failures that do not align with that image. Kimmel focused on Trump's former airline venture and joked that if anyone knows how to drive an airline into the ground, it could be Trump himself. Beneath the humor, though, was a much bigger message. Trump's entire public identity is built on the idea that he is a business genius. So every time stories like this resurface, they reignite the debate over whether that image truly matches his record.
Brooklyn, my father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest. But I came into Manhattan, I started buying.
Trump has been repeating the same story for years. According to him, he started with almost nothing other than what he described as a small loan of $1 million from his father. In Trump's telling, that loan was simply the first step in a journey where he entered Manhattan, took major risks, and built an empire that many believed would never succeed. He portrayed himself as an outsider who achieved success through instinct, confidence, and determination. However, critics continue to raise the same question. How small is a $1 million loan, really? For some people, the story symbolized ambition and drive. For others, it reflected privilege and opportunity. Over time, the phrase small loan became one of the most well-known examples of how Trump and his critics can hear the exact same story and come away with entirely different conclusions.
She's been keeping track, I guess. Yesterday, Trump told his 2,000th lie since taking office. So happy lie 2K, everybody. 2,000 lies. He's averaging 5.6.
Jimmy Kimmel then turned to an issue that followed Trump throughout nearly every stage of his presidency: fact-checking. Reports began tracking his public statements and claims, and headlines increasingly focused on the sheer number of remarks that were being disputed. Kimmel pointed to a milestone that quickly became a favorite source of comedy. Thousands of claims had come under scrutiny while Trump continued to present himself as someone who simply tells it like it is. Kimmel's joke was not only about the numbers. It was about public perception. Trump built his political identity on authenticity and speaking directly, but critics argued that constant repetition could sometimes overshadow the facts. As those numbers continued to grow, late-night television found itself with even more material to use.
Stage to launch an attack on the media outlets he doesn't like. So it will be a rare opportunity to see the president express his displeasure.
Kimmel then shifted to Trump's relationship with the media, one of the longest-running battles in modern politics. Reports suggested that Trump might use public appearances to attack news organizations he disliked, something audiences had already seen many times before. Kimmel joked that going after the press had almost become one of his trademark moves. Beneath the humor, though, was a much bigger issue. Trump repeatedly claimed that the media treated him unfairly, while critics argued that he often saw criticism itself as a personal attack. Over time, the conflict stopped being about one article or one television network. It turned into a non-stop political war where headlines, television appearances, and public events all felt like another round in the same ongoing fight.
Up and roast the luminaries and the president and everyone, but our president is a delicate snowflake with the thinnest fat skin of any human being ever.
Kimmel turned to something critics have been saying for years: Trump's reaction to comedy itself. Presidents have always been the target of late-night jokes, impersonations, and public roasting. However, Kimmel argued that Trump appeared to react differently, treating comedy not as background noise, but almost as a personal attack. Kimmel painted the picture of a president who could constantly throw punches, but struggled when the jokes were directed back at him. That is what made the ongoing clash between Trump and comedians so compelling. It was no longer just about politics. It became an ongoing collision between power and mockery, where every joke sparked another response, and every response created even more material. Donald Trump built his public image around three core ideas: winning, business success, and always being right. He presented himself as a master dealmaker, a self-made billionaire, and someone with instincts that nobody else possessed. Yet over the years, critics continued digging into the stories behind that image, including his business record and the small loan narrative.